Let's talk about different grip styles and how they relate to squaring up this club face through impact. I think the most common fault that we see would be players that come through the impact zone and have an open face, okay, which means that their club face, for a right-handed player now, their club face is pointed more to the right than their path. And that puts a lot of spin axis to the right, okay, which we term a slice more often than not. So what we want to do first is we want to fix that club face through impact. We want to get that club face very square to a player's path. And the first thing I want you to do is be mindful of the grip. How are you putting your hands on this grip, and how is that influencing your ability to square up this face? All right, so I'm going to use a couple of T's here just to help give you a visual. And let's talk about what we would term a weak grip first. Okay, so a player that has a really hard time squaring up that club face through impact typically has a very weak grip. And that is a grip where when I bring my hands on this club, my lead hand now, maybe my thumb is right on top of the shaft or right down the middle of the shaft. And if I brought my thumb and forefinger together to hold this T, this V is over here to my left shoulder. Now when I bring my trail hand on there and I cover my thumb with my lifeline or my palm, now that puts that V and that thumb again to the left. All right, so that's what we would term a very weak grip. Now what this player needs to do through impact is, number one, in the backswing, of course, they're hinging, right? We're storing up some potential here. And now when we come down into the impact zone, we need to, number one, unhinge those wrists. Okay, but even when I unhinge those wrists, my club face is still wide open. So I have to unhinge those wrists, and then I have to rotate that face by quite a bit. All right, so I have to unhinge and swivel. And that's why players with a weak grip typically struggle with getting that club face squared up to the path. So the next grip, what we would like to do is we would like to see if that player who has that weak grip can't neutralize it a little bit. And that would mean that they would take this lead hand, they'd rotate it a little clockwise. Again, it's more in my fingers, pinky ring, middle finger, thumb, heel pad on top. But now my thumb is to the right of center. And this V is pointed over here to my right shoulder. And now when I place my trail hand on there, I cover my thumb with that lifeline. Now this V is pointed right up here at the buttons of my shirt. And that would be termed a very classic or neutral grip. Now this player, again, hinges and they unhinge, but the amount of swivel that they have to impart through the impact zone is reduced. Therefore, the timing is reduced. All right, so if you have a weak grip, look to neutralizing it first. And then if we still are struggling, then I want you to take this hand, this lead hand, and I want you to rotate it even more clockwise. All right, so as I look down there, I see 1, 2, 3 knuckles. This V is pointed outside my right shoulder. Thumb is well over here to the right side of center of the shaft. This hand comes on there and it mimics it. Now both T's are to the right of center of the shaft. This is what we would call a very strong grip. But this player, when they hinge and unhinge towards the bottom, they do not have to swivel. Okay, they do not have to swivel. They still have to turn, okay, but as I unhinge, that club face is already square. So the amount of timing and the amount of work that this player has to do onto this shaft, onto this grip, is reduced significantly, and it might help you square up that club face. So remember, if you're a player that's struggling with the slice, it's typically a pattern where the club is tracking to the left through the impact zone, and our club face is open to that path. So when we go about trying to fix it, let's fix the face first. Let's get your club face square to a path, and then we'll be inspired to start to shift this path. All right, but club face first.